Hi guys, hi everyone. Today we have a super interesting talk with one of our picky experts. I bet that you read a lot of her discussions before. So we are here with Dr. Katrina, and she's going to be talking about it's a topic that everybody is always asking questions on our Instagram and on picky discussions. Sunscreens. Yes, you guys know from me that I'm not a very diligent sunscreen user. Dr. Katrina is not me today. But yeah, let's get to it and let's answer a lot of your questions today. So Dr. Katrina, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi guys! So hi everybody, I'm Dr. Katrina. You can just call me Katrina. So I'm a board-certified dermatologist from the Philippines and of course, picky expert. And I'm so happy to be here and face-to-face at that, right? Here in Korea. So I'm so excited about today's topic. So my picky name is actually 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗦𝗪. So if you've seen in the expert discussions, that's actually me.
Sunscreens, there's such a huge variety.
There's so many options, I know. And it can be overwhelming, right?
Definitely overwhelming.
But it's the most important thing in the skincare routine.
I mean, that's what I hear all the time. So let's just first, I would like to know more about like sun safety or like the most common issues, like why do we have to wear sunscreen?
That's true. Okay, so I mean, we love the sun, right? I mean, it gives us light. It allows our food, the plants to grow. But I mean, with it, it also has like some cons, right? I mean, the sun can cause sunburns, skin aging, like it contributes to like wrinkles, sunspots, and most importantly, skin cancer. So that's primarily why we have to wear sunscreen. And it's not just sunscreen at that. It also includes like other protective measures like seeking shade, usually 10 to 2 p.m., wearing protective clothing. I don't know if you've heard about the UV protective clothing, the PPF factor.
Because here in Korea, they're so conscious about like sunscreen and sun safety.
Good.
That they have like UV clothing.
Yes.
They also wear the umbrellas.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the whole thing about sun protection. It's not just sunscreen, but also those sun protective clothing, seeking shade, wearing UV glasses, and all that things.
Right. Let's say I'm not prepared to buy all those gadgets. Would sunscreen be enough?
Well, I mean, that would be the bare minimum, right? But it's important for us to know, though, that the sunscreen won't actually filter out 100% of the UV rays. Okay. So you do have to add in those little habits, if you can.
Yeah, sure. I'm just wondering, like, if, I don't know. I mean, some people don't have, like, the budget for it.
That's true.
Or, like, at least, like, for the clothing, like, seeking shade and keeping yourself hydrated.
Yeah.
Let's say, when I'm reading the ingredients, is there anything that I should be aware of? Like, oh, this might be too, like, irritating for like a baby skin or anything that I should
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. So I guess to differentiate like a physical or a mineral sunscreen from a chemical sunscreen, which might be a little bit more irritating, would be to look at the ingredients, right? So you could take a look at the box, take a look at the ingredients that are there. So usually like a mineral sunscreen would be like titanium dioxide or zinc oxide. So that would be a little bit less irritating. So if you have sensitive skin, or for kids, you can go for that. For a chemical sunscreen, you would look for things like oxybenzone, avobenzone, octinoxalate, right? So those are just some options for chemical sunscreens. But at the end of the day, you can always just patch test, right?
Right.
If you don't have a reaction, then go ahead, slather that thing on.
Let's say even after the patch test, everything seemed okay, then I put it on the face and I have a reaction. What to do then?
I mean, that's why it's always an ongoing process when it comes to skincare. I mean, at the get-go, you might not have a reaction, but you just have to constantly listen to your skin. If you develop that reaction, then stop it, right? And then you can look for another alternative.
And then should I just stop and keep my face just clean, or should I try to apply any soothing skincare?
All right. I mean, you can look for signs if your skin barrier was compromised. So usually that would be like redness, stinging or burning, a little bit of itching, right? If you do have those things, then you'd want to take a step back, go back to the basics, just a mild cleanser, definitely a moisturizer to replenish that skin barrier, and of course, the sunscreen.
Okay. It's not gonna cover.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about like the details of sunscreens, I think it's good to define all those little letters that come with it. So SPF, the numbers, and PA, and the plus, and so many pluses. Like, what does all that mean? And like, there is also UVA, UVB. Let's clear that out first.
Okay,
we can talk in detail.
Yeah, all the technical stuff, let's get them out of the way. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to choosing a sunscreen, I would say that there are 3 bare minimums that you at least need. So that would be 1, it'd be broad spectrum. So broad spectrum basically means that it would protect your skin from both UVA and UVB rays, right? So there's actually a distinction. Both of them would cause skin cancer. So that's why you need both. But UVA actually contributes more to skin aging, which we don't want, right?
No.
Right? So those wrinkles, those dark spots. So it's actually more of UVA that's responsible for that. And then UVB would be more of the sunburns, in addition to skin cancer. So that's why you want to make sure when you pick a sunscreen, it should be broad spectrum.
Okay.
Then the second non-negotiable would be the SPF, right? So what do those letters mean? So it's sun protection factor, but you might want to think of it sort of like a sunburn protection factor.
Okay.
So the SPF actually refers more to protection from UVB rays, right? So what do those numbers actually mean? So I'm sure you've seen like SPF 15, 20, 30, 50. What do you usually use?
I use 50.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's a good choice. So each number would correspond to how much percent of the UV rays that sunscreen actually filters, right? So the bare minimum would be an SPF 30.
Okay.
An SPF 30 would filter around 97% of the sun's rays. So that's actually pretty good.
Right.
So you're using an SPF 50 and that would actually filter around 98%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's only actually 1% higher than an SPF 30. So that's why an SPF 30 would be enough,
fine.
right? Yeah, so, and then the last one, the non-negotiable, would be that it be water resistant, right? So what that means is, it's how long that sunscreen would be effective on your skin, even when it's wet and you're sweaty, right? So that's why you have to reapply.
So that's another thing I was gonna ask. So if it's water resistant,
Correct.
should I think it more about like sweat or to being immersed in a pool, for example? It works for both, or it wears off quicker if I'm in a pool rather than just like walking and sweating?
Okay. All right, so I mean, those are so many different factors, but yes, I mean, they're actually not so well defined, but in truth, when it says water resistant, they would undergo FDA testing, right? And they would test how long that sunscreen would stay on your skin, whether you're swimming, just sweating, and even if you just towel off, right? So usually it would range between 40 to 80 minutes.
Okay.
So a very water-resistant sunscreen would last around 80 minutes. So after that, that sunscreen isn't working anymore. So definitely reapply.
When should I opt for a different, like a higher SPF or a lower one? I know that like, at least in Brazil where I'm from, a lot of people tend to just get like 15 because they still want to get tan. You know?
Okay.
But I know that it's like not the best option most of the times, but still it's like a cultural habit, I would say. But still, like, is there any recommendations on when to increase? Should I increase my SPF? How do I know?
Okay. So, I mean, yes, unfortunately, from a dermatologist's perspective, we're really not fans of tanning. Although, yes, I mean, it definitely is a cultural thing. I mean, you also have Filipinos who love tanning because they kind of like that olive skin color, right? But definitely an SPF 15 wouldn't be enough. An SPF 15 would only filter around 93%. So that gives you 7% of like skin damage, right? So the minimum would be at least an SPF 30. But if you use an SPF 50, I mean, that's so much better. That's 1% higher than an SPF 30. So that's good. But the thing is, there are actually SPF 100, right, available. But my problem with an SPF 100 is it sort of like gives people this sense of complacency. Like, okay, I have SPF 100, I'm 100% protected. I don't need to reapply, right? So that's why an SPF 30, 50 is enough, but still reapply. Because after 2 hours, that thing's no longer working, right?
My next question comes to how to reapply.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Okay, like let's say if you're on the beach, you're probably like not wearing any heavy makeup or anything. But like if I am, so do I have to wash everything off, reapply, and then put it all on again? Or is there other tactics or other tips to surpass that, like makeup with SPF, or like I know there are some powders with SPF as well.
So if your skin is dry, all the better, right? So you can easily apply maybe a gel or a cream type sunscreen with no problems.
But on top of everything? On
top of everything, yes. If you feel more comfortable washing your face, then go ahead, right? And then you can reapply. But it's not a requirement. But if you do have oily skin, that's where it can be a little bit more tricky. So
oily skin alert.
Yeah, so if you have oily skin, of course, the feeling of applying something again might feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? So if it's easy for you, go ahead, cleanse your face, right? And then reapply. If not, if you're on the go, do you have blotting paper? Just blot away and then reapply, right? Or another option would be to choose maybe a spray type sunscreen, a powder, which would absorb the oil, right? Or even a cushion.
I see. What about makeup with SPF? Is it effective?
Okay. So I mean, in terms of choosing like or using makeup with SPF, there's some things that we have to consider. Okay, one, how much SPF does that makeup contain, right? If it's SPF 15, definitely no. But if it does have SPF 30, and there are a lot that do have that, okay, let's try to see if that would work. So when it comes to sunscreen, an important thing is actually applying the correct amount, right? So will you be applying like 2 milligrams per centimeter skin of makeup on your face?
Right, avoid.
Probably not.
You're looking for like a super heavy face.
Exactly. You look very cakey or heavy, so it almost won't be natural.
Right.
So if you're not applying that correct amount, then you're definitely not getting that protection you need. So it wouldn't be enough, right? So unless of course you do, right? So when it comes to makeup, for me, I think it would be good for like reapplication. So that's actually one of the better options for reapplication, but not as a primary sunscreen.
What about lip balms though? Usually they don't have a high SPF. Right?
That's true, yeah. Usually it's like SPF 15 maybe. So actually, I really do search for an SPF 30 at least, yes. Because those lips, they need protection too.
Should I just use my regular sunscreen on the lips as well?
I mean, if you're comfortable doing that, that shouldn't be a problem, right? But some people, they might find it a little bit too irritating or dry. Or the taste. Yeah, correct. So that's where a lip balm with a higher SPF would come in. When it comes to physical sunscreen, so usually some ingredients that you'd look out for would be zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, right? And they're actually one of the older ones that they used. But the con of mineral sunscreen, yes.
It's a white cast.
Correct, is that white cast, the dreaded white cast. But I mean, that's particularly because of that mineral or that component, right? It sort of sits on top of your skin. And it has a higher reflective index. So it sort of like reflects light and gives that white color, right? But I mean, there are so many newer mineral sunscreens that try to lessen down or tone down that white cast. One advantage though of a mineral sunscreen is it's generally less irritating. So usually like baby sunscreens, kids sunscreens, they would usually use a mineral type sunscreen. It's actually also the ones that they use for pregnant people, right? And then a chemical sunscreen, on the other hand, some ingredients would be like oxybenzone, avobenzone, homosalate, right? If you read the label, those are some things that you would find. the nice thing about the chemical sunscreens is it does get rid of that white cast because it gets absorbed into your skin faster, right? But the con would be some find it a little bit more irritating, right? So that's actually where the hybrid sunscreens came in. So hybrid is a combination of the physical sunscreen and the chemical sunscreen, and it sort of brings together like the best of both worlds, right? Less irritating, no white cast, but at the end of the day, the best sunscreen is the one that
It's your skin.
exactly, and that you actually use, right?
Yeah.
So there are actually no rules in choosing a sunscreen for a particular person.
Interesting. There was some controversy online talking about the ingredients of
Correct.
chemical sunscreen, like I don't know, people saying like how they're super toxic,
Correct.
whether they cause cancer themselves.
Correct.
So is that true?
Okay. So, I mean, yes, and I'm so happy that you brought that up. So, I mean, there are some sunscreens, when they studied it, they did find certain components that have been linked to cancer, right? But it's important for us to know, though, that it's actually the dose that makes the poison, right? So, I mean, when they create the sunscreens, they make sure that they're safe to use. So if you're worried about this sunscreen causing cancer, be more worried that if you don't use a sunscreen, you'll get skin cancer. That's for sure, right? So yeah.
So these components, they are used in very small quantities that like it wouldn't be harmful for like a daily use.
Correct. So you're better off using a sunscreen. Yes.
And I mean, if people are too concerned about that, then they can always opt for a physical one,
Exactly.
right?
Yes. There are so many options out there.